the best in this sport. Whether you like it or not, learn to love it because it's the best thing going today. Woo!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Georgia Players Section with Tavarres King, Knowshon, Moreno here on the UGASports YouTube channel. Guys, cheers. We got. I love this time of the year, guys. I know it's football off season, but listen, you got guys getting ready for the draft. Like we had pro day today. You can see over my shoulder, you got NCAA tournament going on, World Baseball Classics going on. There's all kinds of sports going on, and it's just a fun time. The majors with the Masters, the majors are going to get cranked up. The Players Championship just happened. The Masters going to in a couple of weeks. So, guys, it's a great time to just follow sports in general.
Yeah, it's fun. You see me over here trying to get all the games on, right? Like you said, you got baseball on, you got NBA, Florida over here getting beat by UCF. So I mean, you got a whole bunch of stuff going on right now.
Andy says to us with the Mountain Dew.
Okay.
Diane in here with us.
Diane, shout out.
I'll tell you what, we better take advantage of all this good sports right now. I mean, the playoffs, NBA playoffs are going to be coming around soon, and this is going to be dead time. Ain't going to be nothing going on. So
yeah, true.
Let's enjoy it right now. Shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it's always about Georgia and SEC football on this show for us because we're always tuned into it. But today specifically, guys, it was about Georgia's pro day. And we've talked about in length, you guys talked about the combine and what that feel was like being at the combine. But the pro day, I guess it's changed a little bit over the years because of so much of the fanfare and excitement. But, you know, real quick before we bring our special guest in here, and just so you know, we see you there, special guest. So hold on one second. Just tell us real quick, what was your experience like real quick before we bring on Stinch here?
I mean, we kind of alluded to it last week. It's a little more familiar. You're back with your guys. You're back with your quarterback. You got a lot of familiar faces in the crowd, so it's a little bit more familiar. You're on your turf, so that's the difference, I think. You know, you're with your people.
Knowshon?
Yeah, man. The coaches for these NFL teams get to be a little more hands-on with you. You know, putting you through their drills and can kind of see you close up a little bit closer than they might have at the combine. So yeah, it's just a good time to represent for your school and go out there and try to better some of those times that you might have had if you went to the combine.
So you mentioned close up. This is a guy that we're going to bring on, a guest that would appreciate that segue in the media business here. None other than now SEC network analyst, college football Hall of Famer, former Georgia Bulldog, first team All-American, Mr. Matt Stinchcomb. Thank you so much for joining us here live on the UGASports YouTube channel.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, y'all talking pro day stuff?
Yeah, and
a little pro day.
Who better to have on than you were there covering it today, Stinch? So tell us all about it. What was the experience like?
Oh, it's the same as it always is. You know, guys running around in their pajamas. Guys wear less and less, I'm noticing. Actually,
right? Right?
It's getting close to where we're going to have to, like, edit some of the video because there's a guy there today. I never saw him put he never had a shirt on the whole time. And I don't blame him. Dude was jacked, so I'm sure he was trying to send a message. But it was I think it was Landon Hunter, who actually I think transferred to Western Kentucky, I want to say. Or Jaden Hunter. Yeah, there's a couple of guys. Amir Speed, that guy, man.
Look good.
Guys, he put together for a defensive back. Long. But it was it's fun. It's fun to watch those guys. It's always interesting to see who does what and how they go about doing it. And we talked about it today. The quarterbacks are out there, and you know, when Stetson or the receivers are out there working, and it's like an operating room. Like everybody gets real quiet, it's real serious. You know, there's no jacking around. And then when the D-line guys are up there, it's like somebody threw a bunch of hand grenades onto the field and the coach is screaming at them, and it's like practice.
Yeah.
Like nobody's like propping you up. There's no words of encouragement. It's literally, they're just like getting right in the middle of these dudes, like they're already coaching them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a transition, to say the least.
Matt, do you think that's the pro day in itself? You think that's a time a guy can really boost his stock is in the pro day, or is it just, hey, you did what you did at the combine, and then, hey, we're just here to work you out for the pro day?
Yeah, I think that if you're a guy that didn't go to the combine, right, or that you went to the combine and you couldn't do stuff, you're coming off an injury or you tweak something, then I think that can help. I do think it helped those guys.
Man, I heard
and depending on
today.
what kind of pro day you put together.
Man, I hurt one of them today.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah, there's some buzz out there that Jalen Carter couldn't really finish some stuff today. Came in a little heavy, stuff like that.
I was at a pro day. This is years ago. This is when I want to say Laquan Treadwell. Is that right? I think is right. And Laramie Tunsil and Kim Deechie were all coming out the same year at Ole Miss. It was that crazy recruiting class.
Some dogs.
Hugh Freeze. Yeah, and Laramie Tunsil is a freak.
Yeah,
that dude was a freak. I did not know that he was that freaky. I knew he was a great player, but just his measurables were ridiculous. And but Kim Deechie, they had questions on Kim Deechie. The kid was physically talented, and just you look at him, and if you could put one together, it would look a lot like him. And you could tell that the scouts that were running those D-line drills, I've never seen a pace that like the one that they set.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost frantic. It was like drill to drill to drill to drill to drill, and you're going, what are you evaluating? Are you evaluating the drill, or are you evaluating
condition?
The drive? Are you evaluating the, how can this dude hold up? And he didn't. They got him. And, it didn't feel quite like that today, but I saw, I was standing there with George Foster. George was there right after I was there, Big George, and he was in scouting for a while. And I was saying, man, it kind of feels like that Kim Deechie workout a little bit. Like they wanted to see, how he was going to hold up.
Yeah.
And they got him a little bit. I mean, he was gassed. A couple of those drills, you're like, that's an ugly rep. That's an ugly rep. The good thing for him is all you got to do is turn on the tape.
Oh yeah,
just turn the tape on.
That right there ain't gonna lie to you. But like you said, like I was watching a little bit of his workout, and they were the pace of it. Like they were, he was like 4 more reps. Right after they got done. So the pace of it was very, very, very intense, man. So yeah, it's crazy how they try to put different guys through the ringer. But like Knowshon said a little bit before you got on, it gives coaches a true opportunity to get what they want out of a guy if they're wanting to see something out of them. So yeah,
that's part of it. I mean, you think like Jalen, he wasn't at Senior Bowl. That's a big part of the Senior Bowl is. They want to see what you're like in practice.
Right.
They want to see how are you going to practice? What are your practice habits? Can I crawl in your helmet with you and you still be able to practice? Or are you going to go in the tank and get all in your feelings? Or, that's a big part of it. I think that's a lot of what they were trying to do today. Let's just see how this dude's going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Jalen Carter, he has put together such a strong resume on the field that this might ding him a little bit. And some of this is gamesmanship, right? Some of these personnel guys, they're already trying to push him down, right? Just to see if they can get him lower. Opportunities for them or for a cheaper contract. But
please fall.
But it's the dude can play. I mean, the long and short of it is he's the best interior defensive lineman, maybe the best line of scrimmage player in this draft. That includes Will Anderson Jr. So.
Andy Stowe here thinks he's the best player in the draft there with us on here. So who knows?
Maybe. Maybe. He needs to get in shape. But you know what? We're not playing any games, and mini camps don't start for a while just yet.
True.
No doubt.
You got time.
But like we said, we appreciate you being on here with us with 2 other former, Georgia legends here, and I know they have some questions for you. So we're gonna let TK get rolling right here with one for you, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, what's it been like, being a member of the media covering SEC football? What's it been like, with Kirby Smart doing his thing, going back to back? How's it been for you in there, on a day-to-day basis, going into work, working with guys that you probably played against and things like that, the banter and things? What's it been like just being a dog right now, honestly?
Oh, it's great being a dog now. In fact, I don't know if there's ever been a better time to be a dog. It's always been good.
Right.
It's pretty great right now. It's funny that you say member of the media. I said something like that today. I can't remember who I was talking to. It was Mark Slabaugh and a couple other actual journalists. And they kind of took exception to the fact that I was lumping myself in there with them, which the truth is, I'm not looking to be a member of the media. It's fun to talk about this stuff and do games and all that other, but I'm not looking to go through anybody's trash. But it's this ride, as far as watching Georgia football, especially the past couple of years, it doesn't get any more fun than this. I mean, I can't help but think about Kirby's first year in 2016, and that was not a good year. I mean,
8-5.
No, it was a bad 5. It's the Tennessees, Vanderbilts, Georgia Techs, Floridas, all the wrong ones, none of the right ones. Yeah. And you're like, man, that's one heck of he had quite a few foul balls in that first year. I'm not casting aspersion, but literally you're going, it was not a great start. It was like G-Day and then almost downhill from there. You win the whatever that game's called, the Chick-fil-A kickoff versus UNC, and you're like, here we go. Okay, man, this is what it's going to look like. And then you darn near lose to Nichols. You probably should have lost to Nichols, which is maybe
it's crazy. Worst. I forget that.
Oh, it was a horrible game.
God, I forget that. That's crazy.
Yeah, we did that game. I mean, that was the first game that I did with Coach Smart, with Kirby as the head coach. And you're going, they had to bring in Grayson Lambert to convert like a 3rd and 14 to preserve the victory.
Hey, didn't you also do the Kent State game this year?
Yeah.
Hey, man, you might have gone. You might have. What's up with that?
Oh, man.
I don't know. Were y'all there for the end? Because, Georgia did win that game by 22 points.
Yeah, we did. I feel it. But
it
looked a little rough, though.
I didn't realize this. Maybe I'm on here with 3 media members. I didn't know. I thought there were 2 former players on here. You know what? When Stetson and those dudes were talking about, y'all said we were going to go 7-5. Maybe that was y'all.
What? No. I always right.
Hey, no. Here's what's funny to me. They must have brainwashed those dudes last year because nobody said they were going 7-5. Nobody.
I didn't.
Nobody. But they had it in their head, man. These guys think y'all are sorry. You're going to lose 5 games this year. Nobody said that. Nobody came anywhere close. I can't think of anybody that said that they would lose more than 2. And the people that said 2 were,
were Doring.
Drug out the street. Yeah, Doring. Doring had Kentucky winning the division, for crying out loud. So
hold on, Blaine. You had them boys up there.
I had Kentucky up there. I thought they would be good, but I thought Georgia definitely would win the division. Knowshon, speaking of that, you're going for number 3, Pete. Now you got a question on that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, speaking on Georgia, and you said you've been watching them for a while now. But what are your thoughts on their quest for this 3-peat, and thoughts on them having to replace some big O linemen, with Broderick Jones and Warren McClendon.
Yeah. I mean, so the O-line piece of it, what was interesting today is we're looking at Broderick, and you're like, Broderick started at left tackle this year. Obviously he was in there at left tackle last year in the championship game and rotated through. But, Broderick rotated out at times this year. And we're talking about when the games were still, in the balance. This isn't mop-up duty where Marius would come in there. Warren would rotate. I mean, those guys, they're talented enough. They've emphasized the line of scrimmage enough to where you can rotate a guy who's going to be a first-round pick. That's pretty remarkable.
That is amazing.
To ever take him off the field, to ever take that dude off the field when the game's still kind of in the balance. That says something about your depth. That's for sure. And I ran into Coach Searles, and he didn't seem too worried about it. No, that's right. That's right.
Searles is going to get them boys right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's happy to be back at Georgia. I'll say that without qualification. And he got him right for sure. So I'm not worried about that part of it. They do have a real good chance, I think, at three-peat. And part of that's a function of you look at the balance of the conference, right? There is turnover at Georgia. Obviously, this will be the first campaign that they will have for a national championship since 2017 anyway, with a new quarterback. It has not been completely stable with Stetson Bennett, but Stetson Bennett has been available. Now, whether he's been the starter is a different story. He was not the starter for the entirety of the past two seasons. This was really the only year where he came into it where they thought that he was the guy, right? And kind of had to earn his way out on the field a season ago. But this is the first time where he's not available. So there is no security blanket anymore, right? There is no, if an emergency, break glass, Stetson isn't on the other side of that pain anymore. So what does that look like? And Coach Bobo being the play caller, I've got zero concerns with that. That's my dog. I know both of y'all are familiar with him. And I think I hold Mike in really high regard. And I'm not the only one. Anybody that knows ball does. But the big piece is the other teams, the other teams that are having to deal with this and the biggest contenders, right? And that includes, if we're going to lump Tennessee in there as a contender now, which, maybe we should, I guess, at least versus most teams.
Because I guess.
They came in big talking this past season.
Yeah.
That got fixed in short order. But that's a program that they microwaved that thing. That sucker was dead. And what they were able to do in short order is pretty remarkable. So I do think that they're in position to contend versus most. And you give them, you catch them, you walk out there on an off day, and they'll beat you for sure. But they've got turnover at quarterback and at coordinator. Josh Heupel's offense and all those things, but Golesh was the one that was calling those plays. So I do think that matters. I think it matters the turnover in Alabama. I think it matters at the turnover at quarterback. You look at the contending teams, LSU, maybe, I guess. Jaden Daniels is back. The coaching staff is intact. Do you like the balance of that roster? I don't know that I do. Not as much as I like the one in Athens. So long answer to say, I think you can get out of this conference with a championship this year. And if you can get out of the SEC with a championship, then you're in the playoff. You don't even have to win the championship. We've seen that 2 years in a row.
Absolutely. Well, you've given us your best analyst stuff here, and we greatly appreciate that. Now we're going to get off the beaten path here a little bit, and we went through and analyzed a little bit of your Twitter. You're a little bit active on Twitter. You're more active than most over there. And I saw you post some stuff. So we're gonna me and Knowshon kind of go back and forth here. I got one for you. Who is your favorite musician, and why is it Chris Stapleton?
Hey, y'all heard that man sing the national anthem. I think anybody could touch what Whitney Houston did. Mm-hmm. And if anybody could, it would be Chris Stapleton. I don't know if he did. But it was
Whitney went crazy now.
Yeah, not quite Whitney.
I think the tweet was that you would tear up like listening to him sing the description on the tag of a mattress or whatever's written on a mattress.
Yeah.
You said it was fantastic. You were retweeting Herbie, so that was great content there. Knowshon, what's the next one we got for him?
I love it. Well, we saw something also about this love for mayonnaise, man. I need to know the thing about this mayonnaise deal. And then secondly, I hear you have this Steve Spurrier impersonation. You might as well do it in the Steve Spurrier.
Why don't you tell us about the great qualities of mayonnaise? Have Steve Spurrier.
Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, mayonnaise, it's versatile, and you can put it on a sandwich, and you can make sauce out of it. Mix it with some ketchup. That's good. I like that with my catfish and fried shrimp and so forth. And no gator tails. Don't eat those. But like that, like the mayonnaise, it's smooth and tangy at the same time, which is important to me. I like to mix it up a little bit. We don't just run it; we pass it. And it can't just be smooth or tangy. It's got to be both. So I like the mayo. And if you don't, well, that's your problem. Not mine.
I love that is fantastic. And guess what? I love the way that you put it on Twitter. You said it is the bacon of condiments because you said it'll go with bananas, with tomatoes, with whatever. You can put it on anything.
He's got
doesn't mean it's gonna be good, but you can put it with a lot of stuff.
Knowshon, you don't like mayo? No,
I love mayo. Yeah,
oh, okay. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know where we're headed with it.
And which mayo? Which mayo though? You go
Dukes.
with?
I mean, you can eat the other stuff. You can eat the other stuff, right? But it's Dukes. I mean, if you're gonna do it right, you get Dukes.
Speaking of mayo, do you blame some of Shane Beamer's outburst on the media on the CTE that those people gave him at the Duke's Mayo Bowl by hitting him in the head with that? I mean, they killed him with that thing.
Wasn't that bad? Yeah. Apparently, mayo is heavy because those two kids could not handle that Gatorade bucket of mayo. Shane just likes to mix it up, doesn't he? I mean, he's not scared to maybe
more rabbit ears.
Yeah, he'll pop off a couple of times. Well, I will say, yeah, there's been some interesting comments about his hires and stuff, and you're sitting there going, "My land, y'all." I'm not so sure that they have an accurate perception of that program and where it was, and Coach Spurrier, I think, probably gave them a little while this false sense of, 3 years in a row, 11 wins, only division title. Nobody else has done that, and nobody's really approached it since. So there might be a little bit of a reality reset that needs to happen. And Shane Beamer won games this past year with smoke and mirrors.
We're going to let TK ask you one more, and then we know you got a couple causes that are close to your heart that I want to let you, talk to people about and stuff like that. But TK, go ahead and that last one you got for him.
Kind of a two-part question. What's been your favorite game you've called? And then, you get to pick most of your games. Murray said he thought he had a Georgia game, and he think you kind of big dogged him for it. Little seniority.
Murray's full of it.
Hey, that's true too.
Murray texted me about that, and I didn't even. And now I'm trying to think. That wasn't even me. No, I don't angle for the games. I have my wishes, right? But they don't care what they are, so it doesn't matter. My favorite game, actually, I don't know. There's a bunch of ones that were fun, but my favorite one was we did the Texas A&M LSU 7 overtime game, probably 4 years ago or something, and they changed the rules because the game would not end. And the big dudes, the linemen were just out there for decoration. Those guys were done. And who wouldn't be? But it was that game probably stands out the most. That was a lot of fun. And, and we weren't supposed to do that game. Now I think about it. We didn't lobby for that game. We're supposed to do another one, and something happened to the other crew. They had to do something. Can't remember. So we were, pinch hitting, and we got a 7 overtime, maybe instant classic. So that was fun. But yeah, Murray, I told Murray he needs to quit crying. I didn't angle for that game. I can't remember which one it was, Kent State or something. And you're like, who's angling for Georgia Kent State? So
yeah, he was a little sad about it. He was like,
it wasn't even on television.
Murray.
Now I remember that game wasn't even on television. That game was like the streaming.
ESPN Plus.
Yeah, it was like a streamed game or whatever. So no, he hit me on that, and I had no idea what happened. I can't remember why we ended up with that game. I was glad of it though.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not great, and we wanted to give you a chance. Again, we appreciate you so much. We know your time's valuable. Thank you for coming on. Wanted to let you share. I know, a couple things you're close with, Children's of Atlanta and then the Georgia Transplant Foundation. If you want to tell people how they can, support either one of those.
Yeah, well, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is a great one. All y'all have been involved with it too, right? Every time we play Georgia Tech, we usually go visit kids in the hospital when you're in school and still playing over there. Both of y'all, Knowshon and Tavarres, have been great to us when we were doing the countdown to kickoff events back in the day, and always really supportive of that. Murray is actually on one of the boards over there, the Sports Network board, and helping coordinate some of that. It's the universal demographic, guys, we talk about it all the time, where, you might not be a kid, you might not have kids, but at one point in time you were one. And there are kids now that need help, and they need help in the most impactful and meaningful of ways. I mean, literally life-saving procedures that are going on over there. And we have one of the greatest pediatric healthcare systems in the country. And it just happens to be in our state, which is an amazing blessing and one that we can't take for granted. So it's worthy of our attention, that's for sure. So that's helped a lot. It's choa.org, and we're doing events throughout. And, we did the mystery footballs this past year. That was Murray's idea. It was a great idea. And there's a way for folks, I think it's $250, and you can get who knows what type of signature. You never know. And so, it could be a Kirby ball. It could be, who knows, it could be Nick Chubb or Jake Fromm, or maybe we need to drag you two into it at some point in time and get some on there.
Sure.
So it's a great cause. And I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk about it.
No worries. Thank you so much for coming on. We'd love to maybe have you back on after we get through spring and summer, as we're getting into the real ball, as you're getting ready to go out. We don't just talk Georgia, we talk all SEC. So we may do a little SEC kind of wraparound with you before the season if you're good to come back.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming on, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. True legend.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you so much.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Guys.
We'll see you next time.
Awesome.
All right. That is Matt Stinchcomb with us, the College Football Hall of Famer. Guys, that was awesome. I mean, the Spurrier impression talking about the greatness of Duke's mayonnaise, I think is one of the all-time moments on Georgia Player Section.
Yeah, it gotta be. That was top tier, bro. That was top tier. My boy kept going too.
He sounds just like him now. He said, "I like that. I can't even do it."
I love how you mixed in and went, we don't just run it, we pass it too, things like that. Like, he goes from mayonnaise to talking offense. So it was fantastic. So much appreciated, Matt Stinchcomb. And like you said, make sure to go and support Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Great cause. With that hospital down there, what they do, just it's tremendous. And like you said, you may not have kids, but everybody was a kid at some point, and all those kids, deserve the best out there. So great cause. But guys, now we're going to transition here to what we're talking about this week is the biggest questions that each SEC East team has to answer. Coming into this season, kind of in spring ball, summer, what has to be answered. And we got to start, with as Paul Heyman would say on WWE, the reigning, defending, back-to-back national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. So, guys, what are some questions as they cranked up spring ball yesterday, first practice. So what are some questions as not only former Georgia guys, but guys who are now, we've been covering the SEC for the last year and a half together on this stuff. What are you kind of looking forward to seeing?
Away from the obvious, I'm gonna start with the best of the best, the good guys. Playmaking ability out wide. I mean, you got Ra Thomas, and Dominic Lovett coming in off the transfer portal. Definitely looking to see what they can do, how quickly they can emerge in the offense. Obviously, they've been in the building, so they know or should be aware of what to do, how to do it from a playbook standpoint. But obviously, given the opportunity to do it on the field's a little different. So I mean, I want to see what they can showcase, how they fit into the game out wide. We know we got big playability down the pipe with Brock Bowers. So just excited to see what, how those two can play and emerge into the offense for sure.
Knowshon, what do you got, man?
Yeah, man. Shoot, the obvious, honestly. The biggest question is that quarterback position. Who's going to step up and emerge and come out with that job? We all think it's going to be Carson Beck, but he has to prove that. This is the time to do that in these spring practices and this practices leading up to the G-Day game, pretty much. So that's my biggest one is the quarterback. But of course, the RBs. I want to see what Dijon going to do. You know what I mean? Edwards, and see what Milton could do this year as well. But we got a stable of running backs in that room, so I feel like if those guys ain't doing what they're supposed to do, man. Branson Robinson coming there, some of the other younger guys can come in and maybe make a splash, right? So we're pretty deep in that running back room. So I'm just ready to see them compete and go out there and do what they have to do.
Yeah, Chris Taylor in here with us as always. We appreciate you, Big CT, being in here with us. And he says, I wonder how much adjustment to Georgia culture they'll have to make as portal guys. He's talking about, Dominic Lovett, Rob Thomas coming in. Listen, Rob Thomas had a rocky start right off the bat. Listen, the charges got dropped and stuff like that. But anytime there's a domestic altercation, that kind of stuff, it's got to be a learning experience, TK, in terms of just learning, from situations in life and trying to move forward. There's still some things he probably has to work through on the campus side of stuff, but as far as we know, been cleared. Kirby said he's cleared to practice, all that kind of stuff. Anticipation is to play. But how, you guys didn't deal with that as much when you were at Georgia because the transfer portal wasn't a huge thing back then. Guys could transfer, but they had to sit out a year. But how do you, as a guy with new guys coming in, how do you kind of navigate that with them learning, fitting into the new culture?
I mean, within your unit, I guess I would always just take a guy under my wing, a new guy, and more so, especially in the league, I guess you would say. But you just take a guy under your wing, try to teach him the ins and outs of how we do things. We're here, and what's expected of you here, what not to do, just because he's there for a reason. So you want him to thrive and be the best and work to his best ability. So you want him to fit in. So just that you try to just take hats under your wing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Knowshon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. And the guys got a lot of time to get in there. Get in there, learn the playbook, learn the terminology. And we talked about this in the past, where it's it's still football. It's not like they're gonna bring out a new route on you, TK. You know what I mean? Like, I've ran that route. We just called it something different. All right. So now they're just learning that terminology. And the guys will get caught up to speed pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
Hey, backpedaling. I'm ready to have a Knowshon Moreno running back. Like, one of them styles. We need one of them back. Every down.
I don't know that they make those.
Look at play. They don't make them no more. Play.
I don't know that they make those anymore. Knowshon ran like he just didn't care for his own life. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't do that anymore.
Hey, that boy,
they don't do that anymore, man. But it'll be, I don't know.
We lost your microphone there for a second. You good?
I lost. I'm good. I'm back.
Yeah, you good. You cut out for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You would think, Branson. I love the way he runs. He runs really strong. You know what I mean? And I want to see what a whole season of him looks like. So he has the capabilities of being something special out there. But I mean, we're running back by committee in there. There's a lot of backs in there. I feel like can get the job done.
He's special. And listen, people don't need to sleep on the fact that if Andrew Paul comes back and is able to be healthy, I think Andrew Paul will be able to contribute because he was doing really, really good things before he tore his ACL last year. So, it's just all the confidence that you got to get through on that. But Kendall Milton, Dejan Edwards, and Branson Robinson, that's not a bad trio of running backs to have going on. And then Chris Smith and Keely Ringo have to be replaced in the secondary. You pointed that out, TK, in our notes here. But hey, they do get Dan Jackson back from injury. So Dan brings a lot of experience back there. So what are your thoughts on that with maybe some of those young cats like an AJ Harris or Dalen Everett, those kind of guys.
Joe Neal, I was about to say, hold on now. Don't forget the guy. But you said it, bro. You said a big word, experience. In Dan Jackson. Dan Jackson made a lot of plays the year before, was always around the ball. And I think he was always around the ball because he just knew what was going on. Chris Smith last year was a big part of that back end, communicating back there, getting guys right. So I think that will be missed. So I'm looking to see who emerges back there. For sure. Obviously, like you mentioned, Dan will be there, but you got to see who emerge. Looking over here, backpedaling. I know we going over everywhere, but Rosemary Jack Saint. Did y'all see him today?
Yeah, he was running routes for Stetson in the pro day. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did. Caught him a little one-hander. My boy Steady threw it a little late. Caught him a little one-hander. Yeah.
I a little late.
A little late. Yeah, he saved him. Made me look good.
Right.
So he did that. But no, how's that even work?
Well, I mean, they needed guys to run routes. So Dylan Bell was out there running routes for him, and then even Stetson's brother was out there running routes for him. Walk on in Georgia. He was out there running routes for him. But a lot of the guys were in class, they said, they just didn't have Arian Smith, I think, ran a couple for him and things like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Georgia answers those questions in the spring, and then we'll kind of go from there and see what it's like.
And I tell you what, though, fellas, I mean, a lot of these young guys coming in, they're gonna probably have to play a role. They're gonna have to play. We talked about AJ, Harris, but I think of a guy like a Jordan Hall, someone that's gonna have to, I think, come in and play. Big boy.
Hey, you talking about guys, doing pro day that before they come out, like a Rosemary Jack Saint, TK?
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I was like, how does that even work? Because I didn't know they changed that rule. I saw Alex said they changed that rule a couple of years ago. I didn't know they changed that rule. So when I saw him, it just threw me a little bit. I was like, damn, what the heck?
So no, to your point, Knowshon, some of these young guys that you're talking about that are playing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're out there now. The young guys like Dylan Bell, who was just a freshman at Georgia, he's out there participating in pro day. So that's
interesting.
That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. You come to Georgia, you could end up maybe playing early, and then you're going to go to pro day and you're going to help out with somebody else. The crazy fact is that last year it was supposed to be Stetson Bennett throwing at pro day for George Pickens, but he had some class stuff he had to take care of, so he didn't get to make it. Carson Beck threw. So Carson Beck has already thrown in a pro day. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild, bro.
Hadn't even been the starter for Georgia, and he's already thrown in a pro day. So it's nuts. But anyways, moving on to the team that I think I'm really high on in the SEC East. What we're doing is SEC East questions. We'll go with the Kentucky Wildcats here. So questions for the Kentucky Wildcats in 2023. Listen, we all know that Devin Leary's coming in. We know Ray Davis is coming in. We know they have that trio of receivers, TK, that is immensely talented. Dane Key, Barry, and Brown. I miss Tavion Robinson. They've got all those guys coming in. They got Liam Combs coming back. But the question is, can they protect Devin Leary? Because they didn't protect Will Levis worth a darn. I mean, he was getting – that dude, he's going to have – nightmares. He's flinching all the time. Like he couldn't stop anybody. It's like a sieve.
Yeah, and that's obviously I think August probably had the same big question with these guys, and that's the O-line, because the O-line play was so bad last year. But I mean, I want to see if this quarterback is what you say he is, Blaine.
He's the truth. He is hashtag.
Did you 2 feet down him?
He should have.
Did you?
She don't want that 2-footed bad boy. She don't want that Dos Zapatos animal. You know what I'm saying?
Dos Zapatos prediction: Devin Leary will be the single most impactful transfer in the SEC this year.
You might as well just say
so he like the Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes, that's what Kentucky's getting. They're getting a guy who can take their offense to the next level. Because as good as Will Levis was in potential, Devin Leary is actually that good in execution. Okay, and if they're able to protect him, they brought in Marquez Cox at tackle. Okay, a transfer from Northern Illinois. They brought in Tanner Bowles, a transfer from Alabama, to help shore up that offensive line. They have Eli Cox coming back. Okay, at center. I mean, they've got the pieces there, and they have you. TK, you said it. You know that receiving core is legit. If they can give Devin Leary time to get it to those guys, and with Liam Combs back at offensive coordinator, Kentucky can be dangerous offensively.
You keep saying if was a fifth, we all be sauce the balls. We all be drunk. Bro.
Go ahead.
No, bro. Like I think it's more so on him, bro. Because you said he ain't a runner like Will Levis.
He's not.
So
do you throw on the tape?
If they go ahead. So if they can't block, he can't run.
They can't block, they can't protect them. Blaine, it's gonna be some trouble, right? I mean, you can kind of agree with that, no? I mean, but yeah,
I can, but I think they will be better because of the pieces they added. Is what I'm saying on offensive line.
Okay, we're for me, I'm always the kind of person that you got to prove it to, unless you've been there the year before. You know, what I mean, and you got a little track record. I'm like, all right, I like that. Let me see what you can do. But if you brand new, you got to show me. And when I throw in that Devin Leary Jones, I mean, when I throw in that tape, it ain't jumping off the tape at me like a Jaden Daniels did. You know what I mean? He jumped off that tape not only with his legs, but you could kind of see it where I'm like, well, if they can get that arm under wraps, he can be something special. And they did last year. He didn't have that many picks throughout the whole year. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see what he can do, man. I'm not going to say anything yet. But
you like Ray Davis, though?
I love I love Ray Davis. I love that pick for him. And I think that helps him. I think that helps out Devin Leary. Yeah,
no doubt. But the only reason I think Devin Leary, too, is going to be is one, I think he's a guy who, listen, he was, I know it's the ACC, but he was carving people up. He was breaking Phillip Rivers records at NC State. I mean, that's saying something when you're able to. Phil's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, legitimately, he's just so good. And when Devin was over there, he was doing his thing. Now he's going to come into the SEC. He's got 3 immensely talented receivers. So the big question is, can they protect? On defensive side of the ball, they have to replace DeAndre Square. They have to replace Jacquez Jones in the middle of that defense in the linebacking core. So guys like Trevin Wallace and Derek Jackson have to step up. Can they step up? That's going to be a big question for them right there. So I think those are kind of the main questions for Kentucky. Anything else before we move on to Tennessee? Tennessee's our next team we're going to hit.
That ball went 2 feet.
Right there. We're going to be watching them real closely. Yeah. Just know that, Blaine.
Most impactful, Dos Zapatos prediction, most impactful SEC transfer.
I thought you were going to go that he's going to be in the Heisman race. You didn't say that?
Oh, you gotta win pretty much all the games to be in the Heisman. They ain't gonna win all the games. Okay. So they aren't gonna win all the games. All right, now with Tennessee. Okay, I think the big question is, how do you handle the $8 million man, Nico Iamaleava? Because you pay somebody $8 million, and I don't care if it was in NFTs or Bitcoin or whatever it was. they ain't getting all that to come pick pine out of their behind. You know what I'm saying? The boosters are going to be trying to get them in there, and then you got Joe Milton who's over there slinging touchdowns and decapitating people in the third row every other time. You don't know which one's going to happen. So what is y'all's? Do y'all think the quarterback situation is the biggest question? Is it TK? Is it some of those receivers that they've got to replace? What is that?
Quarterback is a question because of what you said. Like, they're not just going money obviously talks. So if Joe, and this ain't happening, because hit the button 2 feet, my boy. Hit the button. Hit the button.
She don't want that 2-footed bad boy. She don't want that Dos Zapatos animal. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I said it earlier. This was one of my Dos Zapatos earlier. I said Joe Milton was going to have a good year, but I'm going to stand 10 toes down on top of your head. Because I think Joe Milton has a better year than Devin Leary.
I love that one.
Yeah, I like it. I like it because Joe Milton's been in this offense. Joe Milton.
Knowshon.
He said, let me write it down. Write that down, my boy. Write it down.
Knowshon, you got to go. Andy Stowe, you'll appreciate this. Knowshon, you got to go Chris Jericho style. Get you one of the click pens and just hold it up. And when you get ready, click and start writing down this thing.
Check me out.
He just made the list, Andy Stowe. You know what I'm saying out there?
Check me out. He's been in the offense, bro. And not only has he been in the offense, bro, he's coming off a incredible bowl game. And I feel like that momentum's just gonna carry over, bro. If they can replace the receivers out wide, That's one thing Devin Leary has going in his favor. If they can replace the receivers out wide, I like Joe Milton, bro. I like him to be the guy. He's earned. I feel like he's set and earned the right to be kind of like a Carson Beck in essence, to be deemed the starter right now. But if that money situation doesn't hang over his head, 100%, I think he has an incredible year.
Yeah. Knowshon, I gotta ask you a question, my man. Okay, so listen, I know Tennessee made it a little tough sledding on people running the football last year.
Right.
But let me read you some stats. Okay, in 2022, Tennessee was 91st in total defense, not because they couldn't stop the run, but because it was like, just air mail on them, just right and left. They allowed 405 yards per game, 290 pass yards per game. They allowed an average of 27 points in SEC play, and they allowed 450 passing yards in a single game 3 times to Florida, Alabama, and South Carolina. Are they going to be able to keep people from just throwing it past them on this defense this year?
That's the thing. And they're losing a lot of their secondary pieces. And even another good player like, Jeremy Banks, he's leaving, a linebacker over there. So it's like losing all those pieces and not having, for having a great season as they did last year. You said the numbers yourself, man. It wasn't pretty. So it's alarming to kind of think about and to kind of think about what they're going to do, this next season on that defensive side. And I wasn't even really I was thinking about the defensive side, but I was thinking about those receivers I think going to be losing. That's going to be a real big hurdle to overcome. And Brew McCoy is still going to be there, right? Brew is still going to be there?
Yeah,
right?
Brew
cool.
Be back. Brew be back.
I think that's a huge for them, Brew being there. And then also the running backs. To be able to still have, Jabari and Jalen Wright.
Yeah.
Having those backs still, man, in the backfield is going to help out tremendously, I think. But they have some pieces to fill.
All right. Now, TK, we're going to give Knowshon the honors on this one because we got to. You know what I'm saying? We got to. These are his guys. If you haven't been watching us for the last year or so, Knowshon adopted the Missouri Tigers close to his heart last year. Like he was just tied, head, hip, and heart with them. He was all in it with them. And now I think he's going to be. What I tell you this week in our pre-show call, Knowshon, what I say to you
about them boys having all those people coming back. You talk about?
I said I think you were just a year too early because I'm riding with them this year. Missouri's going to be strong now.
No, I wasn't a year too early. I saw it last year because I saw that all underclassmen were going to be playing. I was like, man, they had some experience the year before, and now those guys are going to be playing again. Okay. They gonna show me something, and they did. And
Taylor,
show me. And then this year they have a lot of those guys coming back, right? So they're gonna have something to prove. So I think they'll be out there doing their thing. But can Brady cook? Take the next step. I think, and he's losing a big piece with Dominique. Lovett leaving. So that's gonna hurt him.
Well, does he hold on to the job, too? Because he's got Sam Horn, who's from Collins Hill here in Georgia, that's going to be competing with him. Jake Garcia, who transferred in from Miami. And, TK, they don't just transfer guys in now.
They got to win it. They got to win the job. So it's still Brady's. Yeah, still Brady's to lose. But, at the same time, not having the backs that he had last year there as well, man, it's going to be – I don't know. It's going to be a tough year for my Missouri Tigers, man.
Listen, I'm not going to go quiet doses of patos on it, TK, but I'm going to tell you one thing. This Missouri defense is going to be maybe the best defense that Georgia plays on their schedule this year.
That's just what I was about to say, bro. I said I think something that helps this Missouri team is the defense. Like they as you mentioned, Knowshon earlier, they were young last year and they get a lot back. And like, they played Georgia better than anybody. better than anybody, I think. No, am I wrong?
We were texting.
Am I wrong in saying that?
We're in a group text. We're in a group text during that game, all three of us, and we're like, this is about to go down. They're about to beat them. Like it was. Here's the thing, Malachi Starks saved Georgia's undefeated season. catching that guy on the 1 yard line and then not letting him in the end zone. If he lets up for 1 second and I think that would have made him go up by like 11 at that point. That's a whole different ball game. So listen, Missouri, they should have. I think they won 7 games. 7 games last year. They lost a game they totally shouldn't have lost to Harsin in that dumpster fire over at Auburn. That just complete terrible game that they played against Auburn. They lost the Georgia game, which arguably, like you said, TK, they should have won. I mean, they were real close to being a 9-10 win. And then for 3.5 quarters at Tennessee, they gave Tennessee fits. And then all of a sudden it was just Joe Milton going blitzkrieg on them, throwing it down the field. So we saw the good Joe come out there.
They played a lot of teams close, man. They played Kentucky close, Florida close.
Yeah, no doubt.
A lot of teams close.
My question is, and both of you guys know how electric Luther Burden is. Georgia fans know Luther Burden well because, everybody thought Luther Burden was going to Georgia. Like a lot of people, it was right there at the Missouri and Georgia head-to-head in that recruitment. He decided to stay closer to home. But Luther Burden didn't get a whole lot of touches early in that game. Eli Drinkwitz has brought in Kirby Moore now as an offensive coordinator who was at Fresno State with Jake Hayner, who had a great career out there. And he was a former wide receivers coach, TK. So when you got an OC as the wide receivers coach, or a wide receivers coach as your OC, you got to think Luther Burden's going to get to rock a little bit earlier.
Yeah, for sure. And then Dominic coming to us, and just the opposite, him staying. I think that speaks volumes. You got to think that they're saying you're going to be the guy. You're going to touch the rock a good bit. So I definitely think that he will. I mean, you got to know that they're looking to get the ball in his hands because he is special.
Knowshon, when you talk about Missouri too, one thing you got to bring up is, did they have that winning culture was a question. Well, they brought in Theo Wees from Oklahoma, who's a 4-year veteran guy. And say what you want about Oklahoma last year, but in years past, Oklahoma's been a winning program. So my question to you is, do you think Theo Wees can have a kind of elder statesman type effect on that locker room and help them out in that way?
Well, I think so. And at the same time, when you get some new faces in, you get some kind of new voices to listen to, it can kind of spark you. You know what I mean? When you hearing the same voice over and over again, you just kind of tune out. So, get some new faces around there, some smart guys that can get in and show you something different is definitely a plus. And we'll see. We'll see how these new guys coming in, transfer, and some of the younger guys come in and, buy into that culture over there and continue what they kind of building on last year.
Absolutely. Now we're going to turn our attention to the Fighting Rabbit Ears, as I like to call them, because they're led by Shane Beamer, who any little comment by the media, he seems to be jumping on it. Dude's got terrible rabbit ears. Like he's going after an SEC head coach, going after people on Twitter. If Kirby Smart did that, the internet would break down. If him or Saban did that, I mean, it would just totally melt. But I just don't think that's a good look. It shows that you're not really keeping the main thing. You know what I'm saying, TK? If you're worried about that stuff on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, especially the negative stuff. Like if you could keep it, positive, then I think it or play with it a little bit, kind of like my man Lane Train does a little bit with people.
Exactly.
Then I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But like, yeah, if people getting under your skin that you don't even know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, so, go. You got something, Knowshon?
No, not really.
No, I thought you were interjecting there. Sorry about that.
No,
South Carolina question in 2023. Number one, where is the consistency? And I think that starts with Shane Beamer, okay? Because I'll be honest with you, he's been for a head coach. It's one thing to be emotional, right? Kirby is an emotional coach. Like you've heard those speeches and stuff like that. You've heard Nick Saban can go off on people in practice and all that kind of stuff. But I think on game day, you need your coach to kind of be that calm, in the storm, you know what I'm saying? Kind of the rallying point for everybody. Now you can get fired up and things like that when something good happens or show some emotion when a bad call or something, but it just seems like Beamer is an emotional roller coaster all throughout there. And I think his team reflected that, because if you look at some of these losses, of course, they get blown out by Georgia early in the year. Then they lose to Missouri, a game they probably shouldn't have lost last year. This year, maybe a different story. They get blown out by Florida. I'm talking 38-6, blown out. Then they beat the crap out of Tennessee and Clemson. So, I mean, where's the consistency here, TK, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it is a little crazy, but I think that starts at the second helm, and which is the quarterback. All year long, it was kind of just roller coastery for Spencer Rattler. So I think it starts there. Like, who are you gonna get? What Spencer Rattler are you gonna get? If you get the guy that finished the season, this team is probably looking to do some special things in the East. But consistency is definitely key, bro. In this, but it starts at the Q spot.
Knowshon, I mean, can they replace Marshawn Lloyd at running back? He transfers out, and Jaheim Bell was a tight end and ended up running the ball for him.
Exactly,
running back, man.
Man, that's gonna hurt them. You hope that maybe they get a transfer in late, or maybe they have something up their sleeve when it comes to a young guy coming from high school. But losing those two players, man, which was arguably, I think, your two best players, man, it's ugly. You know what I mean? And it wasn't pretty with them. So, man, it's a tough loss for them and Spencer Rattler and that offense. But that TK ain't benching it, man. It's going to be all on his shoulders, and see what he can do, and if he can kind of, take what he did at the end of the season and kind of run with it. But it hurts losing those two.
Yeah, and Knowshon, another one of your favorite aspects of that team last year were the two corners. I mean, they just balled out at the combine, Cam Smith and Darius Rush, and now they're without those two guys. They could just put them. That's such a huge benefit for a defense when you say, okay, you two are on an island, and then we're going to figure it out in the middle with the safeties and our linebackers and mixed coverage. But Cam Smith could lock people down now.
Exactly, and you saw it. If you watched the combine, you saw the way that he was running. The way that he was breaking in some of those routes that they were doing out there. I mean, I love seeing this. So, yeah, it's going to hurt losing those guys, man. So now what do? You can't depend all on your special teams, because special teams won them a couple games last year. You know what I mean? So it's like you hope that phase of the game stays. But, man, they have a lot of work to do on both sides of the ball.
TK, your point about Spencer Rattler, a lot of times the quarterback's only as good as how good you are up front. That man got sacked 20 times in SEC play alone last year. Got to have some improvement up front, kind of similar to what Kentucky did last year.
Yeah, very similar. Obviously, in our league, we got all kinds of folks coming off the edge. So, I mean, if they don't get it right there, then it ain't going to be right. But, yeah, I mean, again, it start with the Q.
Did you guys notice the order I was doing these in too? Y'all got any?
I need to wonder why.
Not necessarily.
I need to wonder why these boys is last because I would have flopped this. I would have flopped it.
I ain't flopping them. After what I've seen, I tell you which team's going last. If Florida's going last, Vanderbilt's going before Florida. You want to know why? Because Vanderbilt beat Florida last year. That means what Ric Flair said: to be the man, you got to beat the man. So Florida, guess what? Vanderbilt is your daddy right now, because they took you to the woodshed last year. And Vandy has A.J. Swan, a Georgia boy, coming, went to Cherokee High School, came in, stepped in and played for him. But, they do lose Ray Davis, Knowshon. That's a big blow to him. So my question is, A.J. Swan, listen, with the undersized offensive line and stuff like that in front of him, I think he kind of made do. He's got Shepard up there at receiver, nice target, but he only completed 58% of his passes. So, I mean, is that the biggest question for them? Can A.J. Swan, take that next step?
Want me to start?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be the question. I feel like for all these teams, you can honestly go down the list and pick out all the teams except maybe like two that are going to be have a quarterback battle, and that we have questions about. And this is no different. AJ has to do better than he did last year. Yeah, I like that his picks was down, but he also didn't play the whole season. Is Mike Wright going to still be there?
No, Mike Wright transferred to Mississippi State.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mike Wright transferred to Mississippi State. We'll have to do a show in the summer called just put people's face on the screen and let everybody guess where are they now? You know, because everybody's transferred all over the place.
I know that's the tough part, man. And losing a running back like Ray Davis also hurt them, and so we were big on these teams coming in last year, but this year is just not looking pretty.
TK. 5.16 yards per carry they gave up on defense. Listen, I know they don't have the biggest dudes up front in that front seven, but got to be better than 96 overall in run defense, right? If is that the biggest thing? Can they improve in terms of stopping the run in the SEC?
Yeah. I mean, you ain't gonna win no game being 96 overall, and definitely not gonna win a game in our league. That's what we kind of pride ourselves on. Is being able to kind of impose our will on folks when we need to. So if they allowing it, it's gonna happen.
What was the comedy special? I can't remember. Was it? I'm trying to think of the man. Dude got arrested up here in Gainesville. Cat Williams. Was it Cat Williams that said a poor little tink tink?
Yeah.
That's what I think about when I think about the Florida Gators this year.
Wow.
Poor little tink tink. Because I'm just telling you, they're losing Anthony Richardson, who we all know now is him, right, in terms of his athletic ability, because it's been unleashed at the combine. And heck, there's even people saying that he could end up going number 1 overall, all that kind of stuff. But my question is, if they couldn't be productive with Anthony Richardson on offense, good Lord have mercy, what's going to happen now that they got Graham Mertz in there, Jack Miller, who hasn't played? What is this Florida quarterback situation and this offense as a whole? Because, TK, you look at that wide receiving core too, there's no names on there that just – there's no guy that can change the game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's Struggleville down there, not Gainesville. Struggleville, because I mean you alluded to it. You can't win games with a guy like Anthony Richardson. I don't know if you're gonna win them with a Graham Mertz.
Bro.
I'm gonna be real with you. And that's plain and simple. Billy Napier has his hands full right now, and again, like you said, Knowshon, this is another situation where the quarterback just kind of comes into play.
And that was my question, though. That's the thing. This is the question, right? What do these teams have to overcome? What do they have to face coming into the season? And I point straight to the coaches, because, like what you said, Blaine, is you couldn't.
They lost a ton of coaches this year after losing. Florida lost a bunch of their assistants. They to the NFL and to other colleges. I mean, it's almost a total. Turnover of the coaching staff too.
Exactly. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what can they do now, especially like what you said, TK, with a Mertz. Listen, I put Darren Leary and Mertz tape on at the same time. I watched Mertz first.
Please,
turned it off quick. Yeah, turned it off very quick. But when I turned on Leary's, I was just like, what I'm saying is that I wasn't blown out the water. I was just like, okay, decent, bro. Oh, okay, we'll see what he could do in the SEC. So, but yeah, with that quarterback situation going on
Knowshon and Devin. What do you think about Devin Leary? No one cares.
I wanted to do that when we had Styles on, but you flipped on so fast I couldn't even get it in. But so yeah,
bro.
Man,
it doesn't matter.
At least they got ETN still over there running back. They still got him. All right, he didn't transfer, right?
He's still there. He's still there.
Cool. So he's still there, but another year that they might struggle. Especially after all those coaches leaving. So I'm putting it on the coaches.
It's just weird too. Like, is that not like a good destination? Even not. I'm not even talking as a player. Like,
Gainesville, Florida is an armpit. It is the armpit of the Southeast. It is
for
awful.
A coach. I'm saying like university, like just.
Oh, I thought you meant the town.
Yeah, no.
That's a good question though that Andy asked though. How many games, if they start losing, how many games they giving Billy until he got it there?
Oh, they was trying to fire him last year.
They gotta keep it. They gotta keep him around because they can't afford to buy out because they've already tried to pay some high school kid $13 million and didn't have the money for that. So surely they can't afford his buyout. They lose Alex Page. They lose 4 offensive linemen. I think they lose 4 out of their 5 offensive linemen for last year, and that was Florida's strength offensively. They ran the football. I mean, they could run the football. They could. The little freshman running back, he impressed me. Etienne.
Etienne, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Etienne had some wiggle to him.
He was decent.
Here's the other thing. You know the recipe in the SEC to win. It's not hard. You got to be able to stop the run, and you got to be able to run the football when you want to. Yes, the passing game has evolved to what it is, but if you can stop the run and then you can be efficient when you want to run the football, you got a shot.
Right.
I don't know that Florida's going to be able to run the football as well with losing 4 offensive linemen. I believe it's 4. It's 3 for sure. I believe it's 4. And then they could not stop the run at all last year, guys.
Yeah.
5 times they gave up over 200 yards rushing last year. And, goodness gracious, that in the SEC, that's just not going to get it done.
Definitely not. And then you lose a piece like Trey Dean. I think he did well in the combine as well. I mean, you lose a secondary piece like that, it's gonna be tough out there.
Yeah, hearing all that, what my boy on Life say, you was right when you said what you said. We ain't gonna ever get out this place. It's bad down there. Hearing all that, hearing that, the culmination of all that you was right. Put him down.
Is Montrell still there though, Johnson? Is he running back?
I think Montrell's back. I'm not positive if he's back or not. But guys, we have covered exclusively, in depth here, the SEC East. We're going to do the SEC West next week. We're going to try to have you another fire guest, but I cannot imagine that we will have one that's able to top Matt Stinchcomb. Guys, that was an absolute blast.
He broke it down.
It was fantastic. Listen, if you don't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel here because we're making that push to 36,000. The biggest Georgia news outlet out there is this channel right here. We're going for 36,000, and it's all because of you guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Andy, Alex, Tim, all the main guys, CT, everybody who's in here with us, Miss Diane as well. All of you, we greatly appreciate you tuning in here. So listen, do us a favor. Tell your friends every Wednesday night at 8:30. We're going to be in here live. We're going to be chopping it up about Georgia football, SEC football. Guys, anything you want to leave the people with before we sign off here? Anything on your mind? Anything coming up over the next week? What you got?
Yeah, I just remember Blaine said that Devin Leary's going to win the Heisman. Just remember it, fellas. Just remember. That's what he said.
I did not say that. That is a lie.
That's what I heard.
I never said he's going to win the Heisman. I never said he's going to win By the way, that would be a great topic to go. Heisman candidates in the SEC are top. Maybe that's an Elite 11. And maybe that's an Elite 11 we go with. Elite 11. It's coming up. It's coming up. All right. So we got some content coming up for you guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. For my guys, TK and Knowshon, I am Blaine Gilmer. We'll catch you next time on Georgia Players Section with Tavarres and Knowshon on UGASports.com.
The best in this sport. Whether you like it or not, learn to love it because it's the best thing going today. Woo!